my fab fans, to Glam's new video. So I know this section's probably going to take me a lot longer than the top section did because, well, it has more color. And that means I have to constantly be switching between colors more often. just knowing it will be slightly more tedious than the other sections that I've done so far. But you know what? At least it's all a bunch of really pretty colors that I get to look at the entire time. It's gonna be very fun. Also, my recording app that I use has been editing my videos just as is. And it's kind of awesome how easy it is to use. But I also don't know if it's editing well or not. I can't tell. And some people are like, you'll know if it's edited well. And I'm like, no, because I put things on in the background as like background noise, and I can't tell. No, not even a little bit. I just changed my settings so that my volume range would not be problematic. Maybe I fixed it. I don't know. I can't tell. It tells me to do a test to see if the input range is properly done. But I can't really listen to it right now. I think I did the settings correctly. I hope I did the settings correctly. But apparently my recording was very sensitive to sound. And that's why I've been having some audio issues, which I don't understand how, but fair enough, maybe? I don't know. I use headphones. I recently got a new pair of earrings, and they're little scissors because gay. But the better kind of gay. That's a joke, by the way. There is no better way to be gay. There is just being happy with who you are. I feel bad for a lot of women, though, that I've met because some of the men that they deal with, oof. The thing is, the amount of men that think that if I was straight, they'd have a chance. No, not even close. You're ugly as shit. Anyway, I kind of feel bad for saying that. But like, objectively, even though I'm gay and don't find men attractive, I can still describe what makes a guy attractive to a lot of women. And personality is a big one. Because guess what? Money isn't enough anymore. Because women can make their own. So if you think all that she needs is money from you, then you're gonna get left very soon and very quickly if that's all you can bring to the table. That's why when I tell people with dating advice and stuff, I tell them to look for someone that you want to be friends with just as a person. If you first find them physically attractive, sure, but treat them the same way you'd treat a friend. And that's how you'll find someone that you actually fall in love with and get along with. You need to find a person who speaks the same kind of way as you. I was gonna say language, but like it's not exactly what I mean, because you can both speak English but be speaking completely different languages. Me and my coworkers, we all speak a form of English, but the way we use English is in completely different ways. We mean different things when we say certain sentences. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is necessary to learn how each person reacts to certain words and what they think those words mean. If that makes sense. Because you could necessarily be speaking the same language as the person you're with without speaking the same language emotionally. The way we say things can be taken in completely different ways by every single person we talk to. Which is why I find it very important to study the way of language. Maybe not multiple languages, but just how to speak properly anyway. And it's very difficult because tone can really drastically change the meaning of your sentence. And since I can't really hear tone, And a lot of my coworkers bring up my tone deafness as like a huge downfall to how I speak to people. It's a little bit sad because I'm like, I'm not a bitch. I just can't hear you. Which also sucks when I'm texting people because I don't understand what they mean behind their words necessarily all the time. Sometimes I can understand it slightly, but not fully. And it really confuses me sometimes, which isn't fun, but it's also how you understand yourself. You need to know how you speak in relative perspective to explain to people that you don't mean harm, but you want to help. It took my manager like a week or two to realize that I kind of talk like his wife, who doesn't really understand English very much, but she can still speak it very fluently. Which I'm actually kind of sad about her, like, and stuff, because she can't visit her family in case she gets kicked out of America, even though she's a legal immigrant. She's 100% legal, but the chance that she might not be able to come back to her husband and her kids if she visits her family is the most depressing thing I've ever heard get told. She might not be able to visit her family or see them because of laws and people being prejudiced, which is really like excruciating to hear about happening to people all over. But it's also why I think it's important for people to bring up different aspects of life, and it's upsetting. I am upset with the way the world is, and I don't understand it at all, which makes it so much worse. Because I'm constantly confused. I want people to be good, and I wish so much more from everything. I wish nobody would litter, and I wish nobody would hurt others on purpose. But in essence, technically, everyone who does shitty things technically thinks they're doing the right thing for themselves. Evil choices have logic behind them. I know, it sounds really terrible to say that, yeah, bad person, but like their thought behind it is usually less evil sounding. But what they're doing is still vindictive and off, which is actually why I wanted to write a story and why I wrote the perspective of the villains in my story, is because evil has reason, but it also is just not good. Like, you can understand the evil, but you can't fully understand it the same way they understand it. Bad people will be bad because they think they're good enough and that everyone else is faulted, broken. But I think we're all a little bit broken. I mean, emotionally, I'm quite strong compared to some of the people I know around me, because I don't take things and I don't get stressed as easily, but I do get a little bit overwhelmed. And it's not necessarily because I'm stressed in a specific sense, but I am stressed in the sense I have so much to do and so little time to do it, and I want to be home because I like being home. Being home is comfortable, and I like being in my room, but my house isn't necessarily a completed home because it never feels like home. It feels very isolating, but I kind of don't mind being alone and isolated. Don't get me wrong, I love my friends, I love having them over, and I love our conversations because it is super fun. And I enjoy going to cons, and I enjoy meeting new people, and that's super fun. But I get exhausted way faster than some other people. which is usually why I get very quiet whenever I'm talking to people, is because I want to listen to their story, and I want to learn their perspectives, and I want to see how they react to things. I want to know how they are as people, because it's very entertaining to watch people be people. But maybe that's because I study psychology that I kind of love to see people be people. It's just a thing. I'm a people watcher, but I also know that I've had encounters where people would walk up to me and start a conversation and expect me to respond, and I'm just, don't know you. Like, I went on vacation and I was taking photos, and then I was spoken to by an old person that just wandered out of the crowd and saw how I was taking photos of a fountain. I took photos because I like taking photos. I like messing with camera angles and values, getting a lot of perspective and shape. The same thing with paintings. I like a lot of things happening. I like the emotion behind the angle, or my imagination behind it. Some people might not understand my thoughts behind the photos that I have, but I also know that if I were to ever like edit those photos that I took on my camera, I would want to add monsters in them because I think that would be very interesting. When I went to visit the Luray Caverns, I really loved how beautiful they looked, but I also thought it would be really fun to get all of like the angles within the area and see how it looked, but in a different sense, because I wanted it to look like an area that if you would crawl there and crawl through, imagine if something jumped up at you or crawled at you. And I was just thinking about horror games the whole time, though I was also with my grandmother, and that's a horror in itself. Yeah, because she put down her cat because she was like, he wasn't eating, he was too old. I'm like, I don't think we should put down animals unless there's no way to make their life less miserable. And they might say, oh no, he wasn't eating, what if he just wasn't hungry? Or what if he didn't like that food? What if he got bored? Or what if it was bad for his digestive system in the first place? Imagine feeding a kid something that they do not crave nor want, and not making something that they would eat. You don't have to make something crazy or interesting. Usually for things, you just have to be more simple and basic. But literally anyone would have taken that cat instead of her putting it down. She didn't have to do that. And I'm forever going to be a lot upset about that. And all they did is they said, well, he was 13, he was going to die anyway. But he didn't. He survived. Indoor cats usually live way longer than 13 years. 13 is a very small number. Cats live for a very long time. Which I don't think she understands that cats can live for a very long, especially if properly taken care of. Not to mention she kept switching his food, like, constantly. You have to, like, slowly switch it. You can't instantly switch it. You have to slowly switch between food so that their body can get used to a new food. But she never did that. And that poor cat. Sometimes I just don't like my family at all because they don't think about how easily others might handle something. They only think of how much more difficult it would be for them. I bet she put the cat down so she wouldn't have to clean the litter box. I can say that very confidently, honestly. I really love animals. So hearing about people being really stupid and ignorant hurt, and It also hurts me when people litter and or destroy things like ecosystems. People cut down a full tree and like a forest, and a bunch of animals were dead in the road because they took away their homes just so they could build one house that most people could not afford, stealing away a person's perfectly nice yard just for more infrastructure. We need less people so that we can survive better, have better lives. We should think about the quality of the lives that are already here rather than adding new ones. Because that's more important to me. I feel like that's important for everyone. Why do we not care about anyone who's alive right now? Why do we only care about people that don't exist that could potentially be murderers and psychopaths or autistic little shits like me who have a fear of children because they see them as parasites? This world sucks. I wish we had a better way to do things. It was sad. I remembered my dead cat. Do you ever just get really sad? You run out of steam. You have something to say, but not enough. I just have emotions that I feel that I can go off of, and that's it. I remember I studied about cults for a little bit because I wondered why they existed and the semantics behind it. And it's mostly just power play and people wanting to feel like they belong somewhere when they didn't fit in anywhere else. Usually how cults start, which is probably why most organized religion fits under the category of a cult. I know, shocking. But technically, if they state that only their specific church is the better church and or the one that says the most truth, then it's technically more of a cult than a church. But most cults start out as churches and organized religions. But if they ever tell you to try to send your kids to a camp, the whole point of those camps is actually to brainwash the children into following in the footsteps of a cult. And it can section you into abusive situations. And do you really want that for your child? To be in an abusive situation? I'd rather just let people love. Doesn't matter who you love, as long as you're happy and unharmed and comfortable. I wish for people to be happy and comfortable. I wish for people to be loved and comforted. But I guess asking people to just be nice to each other is reason enough to get shot or stabbed and or be executed. I mean, every single person who's ever just said, hey, be nice to each other has been killed. Jesus, Martin Luther King, anyone who's ever stood for something and said, be kind to each other, and that's it, has basically blatantly been murdered. I remember when I was doing research paper on president, I picked the one with the least amount of faults that I could read up on, and I did not read very far. Got to the 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. I think that was the 16th. I could be very wrong. And I was like, oh, cool, they freed slaves. And then I read further that he might have done that by accident. That's hilarious. Though every time they make a movie with Abraham Lincoln, they make him look like such a badass. So, it's kind of funny. All our presidents have done some wild shit, though. And objectively, all of them are very bad people. Like, when you break it down, but oh well, we can't do anything but hope that eventually we'll have a person who's looking out for just people existing and hoping they could just do their own thing. I don't believe in letting children get surgery unless it's absolutely medically necessary. Like, they would die if they didn't get the surgery type shit. I also don't think people should be taking hormone drugs unless absolutely necessary before they're 25, so that it doesn't mess up with brain development. Because that's usually what hormones do, is mess with the brain development, which is not the greatest thing at all. And it also is harder when there's a lot of disabilities that aren't diagnosed early on, like autism is quite difficult for people to get diagnosed, especially if they're not actively looking for a diagnosis of something being off. Like, my mom, she has ADHD. She learned almost in her 50s that this is an issue that she has. She should have known this from very young, that she thought, acted, and reacted differently. And she probably did, but she had no label to it. Same thing with, like, sexuality. You don't know entirely. You can assume, but if you have, like, a mental disability, that shit's gonna take you a little bit longer to figure out. Because you don't know whether it's just you or whether you just don't physically like things. Because I know I don't really like hugs, but I will give them to my, like, very close friends. And under no circumstance will I ever hug a man unless it's my dad or my brother. Only male, my, like, brother and my dad. Those are the only two men I will ever hug in my family. I just don't want hugs from any of the others. Some of my other family members are kind of gross. So hugging them would be a very questionable thing. And I would rather not. I don't know where they've been. It's a really fucked up thing to say about your family. I don't know where you've been. Why would I ever touch you? In any way. But I think about that a lot with just anyone, though, is like, I don't know where you've been. I don't want you touching my hands or hugging me. I remember when I was a barback and one of my brother's, like, friends started flirting with me, and they found out I worked at the bar, started drinking White Russians, which is just vodka and milk, and then they tried to hug me. Oh, I ran so fast. Like, fuck no. I was like, oh, hell no. Don't come near me. And then I hid in the kitchen till the end of my shift, because I did not feel safe. But apparently I accidentally flirt with people often, or at least they see it as flirting. I just see it as having an intellectual conversation about weird shit. Because I'll just bring up the wildest stuff no matter what. I have no off switch and I have no different modes. I just say what's on my mind at any time. And it's usually something related to the last thing I heard from a person. And it's mainly as a way to make friends, because I am bad at socializing, and my coworkers brought it up as, yeah, sometimes talking to you feels like talking to a child, but in, like, the most endearing way. Because it's just so full of wonder. And I'm like, thanks, guys. Because I know it's not an insult, but it's also not a compliment. I'm not a child, but I do tend to have some childish attributes. I will just say anything, because why not? I have no reason not to. I mean, I probably should hold my tongue more, because honestly, I'm surprised I have not been punched in the face yet. Especially by, like, one of my best friends. Technically, I should just call her my sister. At this rate, I usually call her my sister-in-law. But if my brother fucks this up, which I think he already has, I'm just gonna call her my sister. She might not be married in or anything. Also, some people get confused. I do call her my sister-in-law, but she's technically not married to my brother. And her kid is not my brother's. The reason sexual education is so important to let children learn is so they don't end up like her. Like, her mom refused to teach her any form of sexual education at all. She kept her home those days. Didn't allow her to participate because she didn't want her seeing it. The reason we teach sexual education in schools is for the fact that we don't want people getting pregnant. And usually teaching the process and all the downfalls and the bad things tends to make people not wanna. Like postpartum depression, eating habits, the fact that you can get ripped open. And also, apparently my sil, everyone else I asked about it was like, it bled when they slept together. Everyone else was really shocked about it. And then my sil was like, yeah, no, that's normal. That's just your hymen breaking. It can happen with anything, but if it doesn't, it just means you haven't been with someone who is big enough. And my reaction to that was, what? That's horrifying. The only time I've ever bled is for my period. Why would anyone want to sleep with someone who could hurt them physically? She's like, it only happens once. Then never again. And I'm just like, and she's like, well, yeah, it can happen from anything, not just sex. It can happen from riding a bike, even doing any form of physical exercise, which really caught me off guard too, because I'm just like, well, I've never had that, but maybe it's because I've always used tampons. Mainly because it was the only thing I had available. My mom eventually did get me pads, and then I realized that's a sensory nightmare. And I'm kind of glad I don't have many nerve endings because I can't feel anything when it's just there. I can't feel the tampon inside me. So it's just like existing whenever I'm on my period. And I'm just like, okay. Neat. And some of my friends were like, you can't feel the tampon? And it's like, no. I cannot, but I sure as hell can feel pads, and they feel like diapers, and it took me longer to get out of diapers than I would like to admit. I was potty trained as soon as like I could walk, basically, but I wasn't bed trained until I was like 7. Mom couldn't figure out that one. I figured it out by just not drinking water before bed and making sure I went to the bathroom before bed, and I've not had any issues since. So clearly my idea worked and it helped. But like, I don't understand how bed training works, cuz like, how does the body just eventually learn that it shouldn't pee itself when you're asleep? And I never understood the concept. I just never understood it. I don't know how it works, but that's okay. Also, the fact that I can roast people really easily and them just laughing it off and walking away is great. Sometimes I accidentally roast people. I'm trying to be genuinely nice and I say something absolutely awful. For a very long time, I would talk a lot more slowly like this. And it's because I wanted to make sure that I wouldn't speak or say something that I didn't fully articulate properly in a way that would make sense and be understood in the same way I want it to mean. And it did help a little, but honestly, it would be easier if my brain just knew what to say. It took me a little bit of practice to understand expressions. I used to look at myself in the mirror for hours in hopes that I could understand people just a little bit better and react more properly so that people wouldn't think I'm being mean. But I remember once in elementary school, and I was looking at her drawing and I was like, I feel like it would look better if you did it yourself, was what I meant to say. But back then, how I said it was, it's not that hard. Not what I meant, but it is what I said, but not what I meant. Not even close. I meant it as like, I feel like it would look better if you did it yourself. And it would be so much more validating because you achieved it on your own instead of just let her help you. But I wasn't a very smart child, and I took a good minute to think about what I was gonna say to that, and I still fucked it up. Like, how do you manage that? I don't fucking know. Should I not have issues like that? I wish, honestly. I am so bad at talking to people. I wish I was better. I got a $5 tip today, though. That was nice. I sometimes get some really nice people, and I'm just like, oh, thank you so much. I didn't even know it was a $5 bill, and then I saw that it was a $5 bill, and I was like, holy shit. There was one girl, though, every single time she orders, she never wants her change. Like, none of it at all. And I think it's just a, a thing that she does. I don't know. But it's really cool. Last time I got $6. Does she like only order expensive food to maybe get back at someone? Or is she just genuinely that good of a person? Because both are options. I'd like to know why people tip. Mainly, but that's mainly for like a study purpose. Because I tip a lot of money because I know how hard it is to work in a service career and how much people suck. So when I do inevitably go out to eat, which is usually because my mom's taking me, and yeah, it's usually because I'm with my mom. Also, my mom looks horrifying and awful with blue eyes. She loves wearing her blue-eyed contacts, and they just creep me out so much. I love my mom. She's a very beautiful woman. But I like it better when she has her brown eyes, her natural colored eyes, than when she's wearing eye contacts. Because they scare me. And I don't know how to bring it up to her that they freak me out and scare me without offending her and calling her ugly. Like, I'm sorry, Mom, they make you look awful. I love you, but you look better with your natural eye color. Maybe I should just be honest. Maybe she'll never wear them again if I'm honest. She can do what she wants. She can wear them if she wants, but like, don't wear them around me. Please don't. I don't like them. They scare me. I actually don't mind different colored eyes in general, but if you weren't born with them, they usually freak me out unless they look absolutely fake. Cause like eye contacts for like anime cons and stuff, those don't freak me out or scare me. But what does freak me out is like if people just wear them for like a regular day, and it freaks me out because like why would you want to be uncomfortable and have something on your eyes that's insanely uncomfortable just for vanity? For like no reason. I guess if like you're gonna party later, okay. But also why are you partying this many days a week? It's the small things that confuse me, honestly. I like the way my mom looks naturally. That's all that means. My dad's getting fat. But like not the like normal kind of fat where you get like evenly dispersed. He's getting the kind of like beer belly fat, which means he drinks too much, and it makes me really sad. Because I don't mind when people get like chubby or like husky, because that's normal and it's actually way healthier, especially the later you get in life. It's better to have more meat on your bones so that you don't have like heat flashes and stuff, but it's beer belly fat, which means he's been drinking too much. That makes me sad. Because usually when people drink a whole lot, it's not always for social, but to feel the buzz. Like, do you not have the ability to live as yourself? Because you're not bad as yourself. I'd rather you not have the buzz. I've always said that the bigger a person is, the more there is to love, and they're way more fun to cuddle because there's so much cushion, so much more comfort. The best hugs I've ever gotten are from some of my like bigger, and it's not always like fat, it's like muscle, but they are genuinely bigger. I remember when I was in elementary school, I like that you're big, and everyone thought I was insulting them, but I was like, no, they look like a football player. They'd make a great jockey, but maybe it's just the way or the words that I'm using. It most definitely is, but I don't know how to articulate what I feel and think in a way that makes others not feel ashamed. Because these are things that I genuinely like about people, and everyone I've like talked to about it has been like, well, I mean, it's taken as like an offensive thing. And I'm just like, but these are things I genuinely like, and I think they're adorable. Like when people have the chub on their face, they got the chubby cheeks. It's cute. It's like a bunny, like a tiny like kitten with all the floof. But I guess not everyone sees it as the cute. But it is the cute. The girl I met at the con that I hung out with the first day, she was the cute. Look at the chubby cheek. I look at her and I'm just like, I would love to cherish. Some people I do look at though, and I'm like, yes. What can I do? They do make me feel short, but I can climb. I'm very good at it too. I realize my personality is that of a simp sometimes. Like, as much as I can take control of things and situations, I also like being told what to do. Because I'm usually not sure what's happening. Which is also why I'm very much a person who likes the type of ideas that fall like that you discussed before BDSM. Like you go through discussion, you make plans, you have a safe word. Those are very important things because I don't like the idea that you might break a boundary that you did not know existed until it was broken, which is why I think BDSM is very neurodivergent coded. Let's be honest here. There's scripts, there's plans, a little bit out there, but like it's definitely got some form of structure, which a lot of people with mental issues tend to lack is structure because their brain isn't wired for structure, not perfectly, but people do tend to like a little bit of structure. I mean, look at society as a whole. We try to join groups and collect together and unionize because we want structure and we like it when things benefit us. And your camera's winkety wonkety. Anyway, I I do like to discuss a lot, and there's a lot of talking that I do because I find things important. I find structure important, I find planning important, and as spontaneous as I try to be, there was some thoughts before I jumped in, and most of it was just, okay, freaking out a little bit, but I'll figure it out. Please let me figure it out. I'm not stupid. I'll be fine. I usually have to tell myself, I'll be fine. I'll figure it. Am I always tired? Guess I am. But you know what? I try to do things correctly. Anyway, I will say peace, love. Have a good night, my fab fans, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.